When it comes to Xbox consoles, there's so many chicken littles out there that it's unbelievable, right? I mean, every little detail, every little quote, people like to run with these things. They're completely wrong, by the way. It's like, they don't care that they're wrong. Hey, there's a chance Microsoft might, quote unquote, get out of the console business or go third party. So let's go ahead and talk about that because, hey, why not, right? Let's totally ignore the part that's relevant or the context of it and just try to annoy people and tell people that, hey, guess what? We are, going to lose Xbox and there's only going to be PlayStation, et cetera, et cetera. Never really made any sense to me. So, it's crazy to me to see that. But again, this is what happens when people only care about, certain things. Sort of why I do the headlines the way I do, because people aren't interested in the facts. They only want to hear some stupid headline and run with it to go tell people for better, for worse. So Microsoft is talking about Activision Blizzard King in this. The highly debuted mega deal between Microsoft and Activision Blizzard King was completed last month. After having announced a merger in January of 22, the deal became a rather long journey with plenty of discussions, regulator blockings, court hearings, and all types of things like that. While many have argued that the purchase was about obtaining IP, Xbox head Phil Spencer has also said the main reason for the deal was about mobile gaming. And at the Wells Fargo TMT Summit, Xbox Chief Financial Officer Tim Stewart once again talked about Microsoft's primary reason to buy Activision Blizzard King, thereby also confirming that the Xbox audience isn't growing that fast. Obviously, with Candy Crush, but also with Call of Duty Mobile, Activision Blizzard King knows what they're doing when it comes to mobile games. Yes, mobile is the most gamers in the world play on mobile. That's what he said during the conference. We think about the console landscape, and part of the evolution of the deal was, hey, look, we've got a fixed console audience with Xbox, or relatively fixed, but not growing that fast. You've got a couple 100 million kind of console addressable market. You've got 300 million or 400 million kind in the PC market, and then you have billions in the mobile market. So again, it's not some kind of thing where you could get a dig in on Microsoft and go, oh, Xbox isn't growing. He's talking overall in the gaming market for consoles, which is the problem that Sony is facing. Over the last 20 years, their audience has not grown with their things. Each time they have a console, they sell relatively the same amount. There's relatively the same amount of people buying consoles. During the conference, the Xbox CFO also talked about making Call of Duty a high-margin first-party business instead of a lower-margin third-party business for Microsoft, in which he also mentioned driving high-margin sales on rival platforms, including PlayStation and Nintendo. And I quote, so that's kind of when you think about Xbox component of Call of Duty. Call of Duty, you go from, again, that low-margin business to high-margin business. Then what you do is also expand and say, we're now driving high-margin sales on PlayStation and on Nintendo. The executive also mentioned Blizzard's World of Warcraft franchises and bringing it into Xbox console and hardware business. Interestingly enough, this is something that the franchise's VP and executive producer, Holly Longdale, has briefly touched upon earlier in the month. World of Warcraft has a subscription high-margin business. So you're bringing in high-margin business into a traditionally more lower-margin business, and we think that the Xbox console and hardware. So again, what they're talking about here is very interesting, and it's strictly talking about the situation with Activision, the situation with King, and what they have to do, because this is exactly what Sony is doing too. Sony is investing more in cloud, Sony is investing more in mobile, and Sony is investing more in PC. And why are they doing this? Because even though their revenues are up, folks, as you might know, or maybe you don't know, revenue is different from profit or their income. So their income is staying relatively flat. It's staying pretty much the same now as it was in 2017, 2018. So they're not really growing their market. This is why they were trying extensively hard to get games as a service and these live service games kind of up and running, although they ended up having to delay a good portion of them. It's not really that much of a kind of a shift or crazy idea to think that what they need to do is try to appeal to more people on different markets. I could definitely see whoever takes over for Jim Ryan to absolutely, and in fact, by the way, Sony just signed a deal with a partner to do mobile and stuff like that. So whoever replaces Jim Ryan, obviously they could say, hey, we're going to do day and date PC games with PlayStation. That would be a way to grow it. Listen, I still think, and I'm not saying that just because whatever, but I still think if Microsoft really cared strictly just about the console part of the business, that they would absolutely not do day and date. Or, you got to have different, like, to me, there's games that can jive on console, and there's games that can jive on PC, and there's some games that can jive on both. I don't think all games can do that, though, to be quite frank about it, right? I don't think all games can do that, unfortunately. I think like Gears of War, I think that really jives more on console than it does on a PC. I think Halo is the same way. I think we see people abandon those games very quickly on PC because the people that play PC games stick to the same type of games relatively over and over again. So when you do see this kind of stuff happen, you kind of question what the future is going to be and things like that. But I think Microsoft, obviously, you're making, and I've made this argument a ton of times before, and it doesn't seem to matter. People will still come up with this nonsense. At the end of the day, Microsoft controls 100% of the console business Xbox, right? So what I mean by that is whatever digital stuff they sell from first party on Xbox, they get that 100%, right? It's different if you sell it physical. I think they're getting like 70% or something like that. And, there's the middlemen and all that kind of stuff. Third-party stuff, sales, they're getting 30% of that. Third-party microtransaction, they're getting 30% of that. I think there's something like Fortnite dropping almost $1 billion a year on Xbox alone, right? And, I mean, it's more than that for sure on PlayStation. But why would Microsoft give up all this money to become a third-party publisher where their goal is to put out 4 big games a year and not have their own platform to put that out on, mind you, but just put that out on PlayStation, right? Like, people are just like, think they're going to give up, whatever, how many Game Pass subscribers they have, 20, 30 million, whatever. They're just going to give up on all of that, and they're going to, put their games on PlayStation. I don't even see how they could put their games on Nintendo, quite frankly, but, we see the caveats that happen there with any type of game, like games, and I get that the Switch 2 is coming, but I don't think that's something that is absolutely going to come about in a way that really helps, to be quite honest about it. So again, I think that it's going to be very interesting to see how everything kind of turns out. Those that are trying to hold their breath thinking that, Gears of War and Halo are coming to PlayStation, it's not. Plus, I want to point out the hypocrisy and the hilarity of the fact that people that hate on Xbox and hate on Xbox games also want Xbox games to go to their platform. Isn't that funny? I don't know. To me, that's just freaking hilarious. But maybe that's just me. So, anyway, let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching. Rack 'em up. Crap Gamer out.